Welcome back. Ever feel like protecting your digital world is just, well, a never-ending game of whack-a-mole?
Huh. That's a good way to put it.
Right. New threats pop up daily, data is flying everywhere, and trying to figure out how to secure your personal digital life, let alone your organization's sensitive info, can feel uh, completely overwhelming.
Absolutely. Information overload is real in this space.
So that's our mission today. We're going to try and cut through some of that complexity. We're embarking on a deep dive into the world of cybersecurity and data privacy frameworks.
hmm
The goal is to pull out the most important insights, give you that critical shortcut to being, genuinely well-informed.
And I think that's so valuable because, honestly, understanding these frameworks really can empower you.
How so?
Well, whether you're a professional looking to maybe bolster your company's defenses or you're just trying to enhance your own personal digital safety, knowing the landscape helps. And we've pulled from a pretty diverse stack of sources today. We're looking at foundational government standards, crucial industry-specific guidelines, and even some comprehensive IT governance models.
So connecting the dots.
Exactly. Seeing the full picture.
All right, let's start unpacking this. Where better to begin than with a real foundation? The National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST?
NIST, yeah. A big name.
It was actually established way back in 1901, initially to promote U.S. research capabilities, but by 1995, it branched directly into cybersecurity.
Recognizing the shift, the growing importance of the digital world.
Precisely.
And from NIST's work, we've really seen three highly influential sets of standardized frameworks emerge. There's the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, the CSF,
Okay.
the NIST Privacy Framework, and then the more detailed NIST SP 853, which covers security and privacy controls.
Let's take the first one, the CSF. What's the core idea there?
So the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, the CSF, it's fundamentally a voluntary framework.
Okay, not mandatory.
Right. Its main purpose is to help organizations manage cybersecurity risk more effectively. Think of it like a flexible blueprint. It's built on three core components:
Which are?
the framework core, the framework implementation tiers, and framework profiles.
Let's start with the core.
Okay. The framework core defines 5 concurrent functions. And it's important to stress these aren't sequential steps you do once. They're processes running simultaneously.
Got it. What are they?
They are identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover.
Identify, protect, detect, respond, recover.
Okay. So briefly, identify is all about knowing what you actually need to protect your assets, users, systems, data. You can't protect what you don't know you have.
Makes sense.
Protect is putting the safeguards in place. We're talking access controls, encryption, good data backups, user training, that's a big one. Detect is about actively looking for attacks, using tools to monitor network access points, user devices, looking for high-risk behavior.
Okay, so actively searching.
Exactly. Then respond outlines how you act when an incident happens. Containing it, mitigating the losses, notifying the right people.
The immediate reaction.
Right. And finally, recover. Getting back to normal operations, repairing equipment, restoring systems and files.
Bringing everything back online safely.
Precisely. The key insight here is that these 5 functions form a continuous adaptive cycle. It's not just a checklist you tick off.
That detect, respond, recover piece sounds critical. Can we see how that plays out in a real scenario?
Definitely.
Let's look at a case study. Falcon CPAs and Associates. This was a large accounting and IT auditing firm.
Great.
They adopted some new NIST-based security software, maybe for a client, and it scanned various systems, generated a report.
And what did it find?
Well, this is where detect comes in. It flagged some pretty striking things. High-risk employee behavior, specifically accessing records on weekends and after hours.
Oh, okay. Red flags.
Big time. And also, excessive use of USB drives for transferring data. The system detected these anomalies.
So what did that lead to?
It led directly to discovering an individual who was actually stealing employee banking information from the payroll department, doing it outside of normal working hours.
Wow. So the detection was key.
Absolutely. Falcon's quick use of the software helped them spot those high-risk areas. Then came the respond part. They did a thorough impact analysis, communicated with the affected employees, and put mitigation strategies in place.
Containing the damage.
Exactly. And for recover, they restored any affected data, significantly improved their security protections to restrict that kind of unauthorized access again, and took the necessary disciplinary and legal action.
That's a really clear illustration of those functions working together. Identify the risk, protect where you can, detect the breach, respond effectively, and recover properly.
Yeah, it ties it together nicely.
And, it also highlights how detection tools aren't just about finding problems after they happen. They can also act as a deterrent. Well, think about a locked door that's a protective measure. Now, put a webcam above it. The webcam itself doesn't physically stop someone breaking the lock, right?
Right.
But a thief, seeing that camera, knowing they'll likely be identified, that might deter them from even trying.
Ah, okay. The threat of being caught.
Exactly. In the Falcon example, just knowing that kind of monitoring is in place can often prevent malicious acts because potential bad actors realize they're likely to be watched. It connects back to the protect function in a way.
Interesting connection. So that's the core. What about the other parts of the CSF? You mentioned tiers.
Right, the framework implementation tiers. These aren't about what security activities you do, but more about how well or how sophisticated your security practices are.
Like a maturity level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They act as a benchmark. There are 4 tiers. Tier 1 is partial, Tier 2 is risk-informed, Tier 3 is repeatable, and Tier 4 is adaptive.
Partial, risk-informed, repeatable, adaptive.
And what's really insightful about these tiers, I think, is that they offer a kind of maturity roadmap. They push organizations to see security not as static, but as an evolving integrated capability.
So it's about continuous improvement.
Precisely. Moving from partial to adaptive isn't just about ticking boxes for compliance. It's about building a truly resilient, forward-thinking defense strategy. It looks at the risk management process, how integrated the program is, and even external participation.
Okay. And the third component was profiles.
Framework profiles, yeah. Think of these as implementation guides tailored for specific situations.
Like for specific industry.
Exactly. Or even a unique business scenario. They help an organization factor in its specific goals, any legal or regulatory requirements it has, industry best practices, and its particular risk priorities.
So you customize the framework.
You do. NIST actually recommends creating a current profile, basically, where are we now? Then a target profile, where do we want to be? And then you do a gap analysis to figure out how to get from current to target.
That sounds really practical. Allows for a lot of flexibility.
It does. That adaptability is key.
Okay, so that covers the cybersecurity framework. Now, shifting slightly, but staying with NIST, you mentioned a privacy framework.
Yes, that's right. It's a relatively newer offering, came out in early 2020. And its core focus, unsurprisingly, on protecting individual privacy as data gets used in various processing applications.
And how does it relate to the CSF?
Well, what's fascinating is that it leverages a very similar structure. It also has a core, profiles, and tiers.
Ah, okay, familiar structure.
Very. And there's significant overlap in practice. For instance, those detect, respond, and recover functions we talked about from the CSF, they can be directly applied to managing privacy risks, too, like a data breach involving personal information.
Makes sense. Does the privacy core have different functions?
It builds on them. The Privacy Framework Core has 8 functions. Some are privacy-specific, like Identify P for privacy aspects, Govern P, Control P, Communicate P, and Protect P. And then it incorporates the familiar Detect, Respond, and Recover.
So it expands on the CSF model for privacy needs.
Exactly.
Is there anything notably different about the tiers in the privacy framework?
There is one key difference. The Privacy Framework tiers add workforce as a specific subdivision.
Workforce. What does that measure?
It specifically indicates the maturity of an organization's privacy posture based on, say, how many dedicated privacy personnel they have, and the level and effectiveness of privacy training provided across the whole organization.
Interesting. So it really emphasizes the human element in privacy protection.
It really does. People are often the first line of defense or sometimes the weakest link.
Okay, so we've looked at these two really useful but voluntary frameworks from NIST. Now, you also mentioned something stricter. NIST SP 853.
Ah, yes, SP 853. This one is different. It's a comprehensive catalog of security and privacy controls.
And stricter how?
Well, it's designed to protect information systems against highly sophisticated threats. And unlike the CSF or the Privacy Framework, SP 853 is actually mandatory for U.S. federal information systems.
Mandatory for federal systems.
Okay.
Things like OMB, Circular A130, FISMA.
Exactly those. So federal agencies have to use it.
That sounds like it could be quite demanding.
It can be. It's remarkably detailed. We're talking nearly 1,200 specific controls in the latest version, Revision 5.
Wow, 1,200 control. That's a lot.
It is. So it can be quite a burden to implement fully. It's really aimed at system owners, information security folks, privacy professionals, risk managers within organizations facing those sophisticated threats.
Could revision 5 change much?
It made a pretty significant shift, actually. It moved away from a rigid baseline allocation approach where you just pick a low, moderate, or high baseline. Now it's more about selecting controls based on actual need and risk assessment.
More adaptable even though it's stricter.
In a way, yes. Less about checking fixed boxes for a baseline and more about designing security that's genuinely tailored to the specific system and the evolving threat landscape. It's also subdivided into 20 control families, things like access control, awareness and training, incident response, and so on.
And how do organizations actually implement all these controls? Are there different ways?
Yes. NIST outlines 3 main approaches. There are common controls, which are implemented once at the organizational level and then inherited by multiple systems. Think of shared security services.
Okay, efficient.
Then there are system-specific controls, implemented just for one particular information system.
Tailored.
And finally, a hybrid approach, which, as the name suggests, is a mix of both common and system-specific controls. So there is flexibility in the implementation despite the overall rigor.
Got it. So that's a solid look at the NIST landscape. Let's zoom out a bit now and look more broadly at protecting data, specifically privacy laws and data security standards.
Okay.
A crucial area. At their heart, what's the fundamental purpose of these privacy laws?
Fundamentally, they exist to protect an individual's private life, their autonomy, their dignity, their personal information. And, crucially, they also aim to build trust between consumers and the enterprises that handle their data.
Trust is key.
Absolutely. Without it, the digital economy doesn't function effectively. Now, an interesting point here is the difference in approach, say, between the U.S. and the EU.
Oh, so?
In the U.S., privacy law tends to be sectoral. You have specific laws for certain types of data or certain entities like HIPAA for healthcare, GLBA for financial data, COPA for children's online data. There isn't one single overarching federal privacy law for everyone.
Right, it's more piecemeal.
Exactly. In contrast, the European Union has the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. That's a comprehensive overarching law that applies much more broadly to almost all processing of personal data.
A very different philosophy.
A foundational difference, yes.
Now, we unfortunately hear about data breaches all the time. Can we just quickly define what that means and maybe the main ways they happen?
Sure. Simply put, a data breach is the unauthorized exposure, access, or retrieval of sensitive or confidential information.
And how do they typically occur?
Broadly, you can think of 2 categories. Unintentional breaches, often due to human error or negligence, maybe sending an email to the wrong person, misconfigured cloud storage, losing a laptop.
Accidents happen.
They do. And then there are intentional breaches caused by malicious actors, hackers, insiders, actively trying to steal data through things like phishing, malware, exploiting vulnerabilities.
And the impact.
Yeah.
It can be devastating, right?
Oh, absolutely. For companies, the consequences are huge. You've got business disruption, serious reputational harm, losing customer trust is hard to recover from, and significant financial losses.
Financial losses how?
Well, IBM does a report every year, the cost of a data breach report. For 2022, they found the average cost globally was over $4 million per breach.
$4 million, or average.
Average. And that cost breaks down into 4 main categories. Detection and escalation costs, figuring out what happened. Notification costs, telling regulators and affected individuals. The post-breach response, things like credit monitoring for victims, legal fees, PR, and perhaps the biggest chunk, lost business and revenue due to system downtime and customers leaving.
Wow. And for us, the consumers?
For individuals whose data is exposed, the impact is very personal and potentially severe. We're talking exposure of names, addresses, social security numbers, banking details, health information.
Which leads to?
High risk of identity theft, where someone uses your information to open accounts or commit fraud. And direct monetary theft, if financial details are compromised. It can take years to sort out the consequences.
It's serious stuff. Okay, let's pivot to some of those landmark privacy regulations you mentioned earlier. Maybe start with one people have probably heard of, HIPAA.
Right, HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. Its core focus is, obviously, healthcare privacy and security in the U.S.
And what did it establish?
It led to 2 key rules managed by the Department of Health and Human Services. First, the Privacy Rule, which governs the use and disclosure of protected health information, or PHI, that's any identifiable health information.
Okay.
And second, the Security Rule, which specifically sets standards for protecting electronic PHI, ePHI, from unauthorized access or breaches.
And how does it ensure protection? What does it require?
The Security Rule mandates 3 types of safeguards that healthcare entities and their business associates must implement. Administrative safeguards, policies, procedures, training, physical safeguards, securing facilities, workstations, devices, and technical safeguards, access controls, encryption, audit logs.
So, a multi-layered approach for health data.
Exactly. It really set a benchmark for protecting sensitive patient information.
Then you mentioned something amended IPA later on.
Yes, in 2009, the High-Tech Act, Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health Act came along.
ITech, what did that do?
It did a few important things, like significantly increasing the financial penalties for HIPAA violations, making compliance much more critical.
Raise the stakes.
Definitely. But perhaps its most significant impact was adding specific breach notification rules.
Ah, the notification part.
Right. Before high-tech, notification wasn't always mandatory or timely. High-tech requires covered entities to notify impacted individuals within 60 days of discovering a breach of unsecured PHI. They also have to notify HHS and sometimes the media for larger breaches.
That transparency was a big shift.
A huge shift towards accountability and letting people know when their sensitive health data might be compromised.
Okay, moving from U.S. healthcare to the global stage. GDPR, you mentioned this earlier. It sounds like a game changer.
Oh, it absolutely was. The General Data Protection Regulation. When it took effect in the EU in May 2018, it really reset expectations for data privacy globally.
Why is it considered so strict?
Two main reasons: the potential penalties and its scope. The penalties for non-compliance can be massive, up to 4% of a company's global annual revenue, or 20 million euros, whichever is higher.
Wow, that's serious money. That gets attention.
It certainly does, and its scope is incredibly broad. It doesn't just apply to organizations based in the EU. It applies to any organization anywhere in the world if they process the personal data of individuals who are in the EU when offering them goods or services, or if they monitor their behavior, like tracking them online.
So it has extraterritorial reach.
Very much so. That's why companies globally had to pay attention and adapt their practices.
What are the core ideas behind GDPR? What principles does it run on?
At its heart, GDPR is built on 6 core principles for lawful data processing. Let me see if I can list them.
Go for it.
Okay. 1. Lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. You have to process data lawfully, fairly, and be transparent about it. 2. Purpose limitation. Collect data only for specified, explicit, and legitimate purposes.
Can't just collect everything for maybe future use.
Exactly. 3. Data minimization. Only collect data that's adequate, relevant, and limited to what's necessary for the purpose. 4. Accuracy. Keep data accurate and up to date.
Makes sense.
5. Storage limitation. Don't keep personal data longer than necessary for the purposes it was collected for. And 6. Integrity and confidentiality. Process data securely to protect against unauthorized access, loss, or damage, often called the security principle.
Those 6 principles sound like they really shift the power dynamic.
They absolutely do. The collective impact is to move away from the idea that a company owns your data towards the concept that they are merely stewards of your data, with the individual's rights placed firmly at the center.
Now, quickly, you mentioned transferring data between the EU and US. There was something called Privacy Shield.
Ah, yes. Privacy Shield was a framework agreed upon between the EU and the U.S. to allow for the legal transfer of personal data from the EU to certified U.S. companies.
Less tense.
Yes. Unfortunately, the Court of Justice of the European Union invalidated Privacy Shield in July 2020, mainly due to concerns about U.S. surveillance laws and lack of redress for EU citizens.
So what's the situation now?
It's complex. There's a new framework, the EU-US Data Privacy Framework, that aims to replace it, but legal challenges and uncertainty remain. Companies currently rely on other mechanisms like standard contractual clauses, but it's definitely an area of ongoing flux and concern for transatlantic business.
Highlights how dynamic these regulations can be. Okay, let's shift gears slightly again. We've talked laws, now let's talk data security standards, specifically PCI DSS.
Right, the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. This isn't a law per se, but a contractual requirement for any entity that stores, processes, or transmits cardholder data.
Who created it?
It was created and is managed by the PCI Security Standards Council, which was founded by the major payment card brands: Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, JCB. The goal is simple: to enhance payment security globally by promoting consistent data security measures for cardholder data, basically to prevent credit card fraud.
How does it work? What does it require?
PCI DSS is structured around 6 core goals, which are supported by 12 specific requirements.
Okay, what are some examples?
Well, the goals include things like building and maintaining a secure network, protecting cardholder data, maintaining a vulnerability management program, implementing strong access control measures, regularly monitoring and testing networks, and maintaining an information security policy.
And the requirements get specific.
Very specific. Things like Requirement 1, install and maintain a firewall configuration. Requirement 3, protect stored cardholder data, often meaning encryption or tokenization. Requirement 4, encrypt transmission of cardholder data across open public networks. Requirement 5, protect systems against malware. Requirement 6, develop and maintain secure systems and applications. Requirement 8, identify and authenticate access to system components. Requirement 10, track and monitor all access to network resources and cardholder data. Requirement 12, maintain a policy that addresses information security for all personnel.
That's comprehensive. And where does this apply in the payment process?
Everywhere the data touches. Think about when you swipe your card at a store.
Okay.
That data might go from the retailer's point-of-sale system, maybe through a third-party payment processor, to the retailer's bank, the acquirer, then across the card network, like Visa or MasterCard, to your bank, the issuer for authorization, and back again.
A whole chain.
Exactly. And these 12 PCI DSS requirements apply to all those entities in the chain. The retailers, merchants, the processors, the acquirers, the issuers, the card networks themselves, anyone who handles that sensitive cardholder data.
So it really aims for end-to-end security in the payment ecosystem.
That's the goal. It's a crucial standard for consumer confidence in card payments.
Okay, fantastic overview of the legal and standards landscape. So we've covered NIST foundations, privacy laws, data standards. Now let's get even more practical. Let's talk about the Center for Internet Security, or CIS, controls.
CIS controls. Yes, these are excellent. They're a really practical, prioritized set of actions designed to help organizations strengthen their cybersecurity defenses against the most common attacks.
How did they come about?
They started back in 2008, developed by a community of experts. They've evolved significantly since then. We're now on version 8.
Version 8. How is it organized now?
Version 8 made a key shift. Instead of organizing controls by who manages the device, it organizes them by task-focused activities. This better reflects modern environments with cloud computing, mobile devices, remote work, etc. There are 18 high-level controls in V8.
18 controls.
And within those 18 controls, there are 153 specific safeguards, which are the detailed actions to take.
What makes the CIS controls so widely recommended? What are their guiding principles?
They're built on 5 key design principles that make them very effective. First, they align with other major cybersecurity standards and frameworks, like NIST CSF, NIST 853, IPEA, ISO 27001, so they don't exist in a vacuum.
Good. Avoids duplication.
Exactly. Second, they aim to be measurable and clear, avoiding vague recommendations. Third, they follow the principle of offense informs defense,
Meaning?
meaning the controls and safeguards are based on analyzing actual attacker techniques and behaviors observed in real-world breaches. They focus on what attackers are actually doing.
Practical.
Very. Fourth, they focus on prioritizing the most critical problems, the actions that provide the biggest bang for the buck in terms of risk reduction. And fifth, they're designed to be feasible, providing practical recommendations that organizations can actually implement.
That pragmatic approach sounds really useful. How do organizations know which controls or safeguards to start with? It sounds like a lot.
That's where the implementation groups, or IGs, come in. CIS provides 3 IGs to help organizations prioritize implementation based on their size, resources, and risk profile.
Okay, tell me about the IGs.
IG1 is considered essential cyber hygiene. It includes a foundational set of safeguards, 56 of them in V8, that every organization should implement to defend against the most common attacks. It's really geared towards small to medium-sized organizations, maybe with limited cybersecurity staff or IT assets, whose main goal is just keeping operations running.
Basic essential defense.
Right.
What's IG2?
IG2 includes all of IG1 plus additional safeguards. Take the total to 130. It's designed for organizations that maybe have dedicated IT staff, store and process more sensitive client or enterprise data, and can withstand short interruptions in service. They have a bit more capability and a greater need for security.
Okay, step up. And IG3.
IG3 includes all of IG1 and IG2, plus the remaining safeguards, all 153. This is for larger organizations or those dealing with highly sensitive regulated data. They typically have security experts across different domains, and a security breach could cause significant harm public safety issues, major financial losses. They need the most comprehensive defense.
So it provides a clear roadmap for scaling security based on your context.
Exactly. It helps organizations focus their limited resources effectively, starting with the basics in IG1 and building up.
Okay, let's dive into some specific controls to get a feel for them. Can you highlight a few key ones?
Absolutely. Let's group them by their general purpose. First, you absolutely have to know what you have to protect. That brings us to Control 01, inventory and control of enterprise assets.
Makes sense, like the NIST identify function.
Precisely. This is all about actively discovering, tracking, and managing every IT asset connected to your infrastructure. Physical devices, virtual machines, cloud instances, mobile devices, IoT devices, everything.
Why is that so fundamental?
Because if you don't know an asset exists, you can't manage it, you can't patch it, you can't protect it. Shadow IT is a huge risk. A key safeguard here is simply establish and maintain detailed asset inventory. Keep comprehensive, up-to-date records.
Okay, know your assets. What's next?
Then it's about protecting the gateways and the data itself. This covers several controls, for instance, Control E05, account management.
Passwords and access.
Exactly. It outlines best practices for managing all types of accounts, regular user accounts, privileged admin accounts, service accounts used by applications. This is where crucial technologies like single sign-on, SSO, and especially multi-factor authentication, MFA, come into play.
MFA is huge now.
Absolutely critical. A simple but vital safeguard under this control is basic but often ignored. Use unique passwords for every single account. No password reuse.
Guilty as charged sometimes. Okay, what else protects the data?
Control 03. Data protection. This focuses on securely managing the entire life cycle of your sensitive data, from identifying and classifying it to handling it securely during use and ensuring its proper disposal.
Data lifecycle. Okay.
Key aspects here include data classification, understanding what data is public, internal, sensitive, confidential, and using encryption appropriately. A vital safeguard is encrypt sensitive data in transit, protecting it as it moves across networks like email or web traffic, and also encrypting sensitive data at rest on servers and laptops.
Got it. Encrypt everywhere sensitive data lives or moves.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
And closely related is Control 10, malware defenses. This is all about preventing malicious software, viruses, worms, ransomware, spyware from getting onto your systems and spreading.
Malware is a constant threat.
Always. A fundamental safeguard here is obvious but essential. Deploy and maintain anti-malware software on all enterprise assets that support it and keep it updated.
Can we see an example of where malware defenses or lack thereof were critical?
Sure.
Let's look at Family Practice Medical Inc., FPMI. This was a national chain of healthcare clinics. They got hit by a cyber attack where criminals initially got access through an open, unsecured port on their website.
A common entry point, unfortunately.
Right. But once inside, the attackers did something clever. They leveraged a legitimate Windows tool called Windows Management Instrumentation, or WMI.
Ah, WMI. Powerful,
Yeah.
legitimate, but can be abused.
Exactly. FPMI actually used WMI for their own security monitoring and file management. The attackers used this trusted tool to act like an insider. They turned off security flags, removed logs, moved laterally across the network.
Flying under the radar using legitimate tools, that's tricky.
Very. And because they bypassed many traditional defenses this way, they successfully extracted hundreds of thousands of patient medical records and payment information without being detected for some time.
Wow. That really highlights the need for layered defenses, including robust anti-malware, yes, but also monitoring for anomalous use of legitimate tools, good network segmentation.
And strong access controls. It's a perfect storm example of why Control 10 and others are so vital.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered knowing assets, protecting data, and gateways. What about preparing for when things go wrong?
That's the next crucial area, being ready for anything. This brings in controls focused on people and process. First, Control 14, security awareness and skills training.
The human element again.
Critically important. This control is all about reducing risk by influencing employee behavior, because often an uninformed or careless employee is the easiest way for an attacker to get in.
Social engineering, phishing.
Exactly. Phishing emails, malicious links, fake login pages. Employees need to be able to recognize these. So a key safeguard is train workforce members to recognize social engineering attacks. And importantly, this can't be just a once-a-year checkbox training. It needs to be continuous, relevant, and engaging to actually change behavior. Build that human firewall.
So true. Training is vital. What else for readiness?
Control 17, Incident response management. This is about having a formal program in place to actually develop and maintain the capability to prepare for, detect, and quickly respond to cybersecurity incidents.
Planning for the inevitable.
Right. It involves things like designating key contacts and roles for an incident response team, having clear communication plans. Who do you call? What do you say? Procedures for containment and eradication. And maybe most importantly, routinely exercising these plans through drills or tabletop exercises.
Practice makes perfect, or at least better.
Exactly. A core safeguard here is simply establish and manage an incident response process. Know what you're going to do before the crisis hits.
Makes sense. And is there a way to test how ready you really are?
Yes, that leads perfectly to Control 18, penetration testing.
Ah, pen testing. Ethical hacking.
Right. This control involves simulating real-world attacks to find and, crucially, exploit weaknesses in your defenses. It's different from vulnerability scanning, which is CIS Control 07, which just identifies potential weaknesses. Pen testing tries to actively break in.
So it really tests the effectiveness of your controls under realistic attack conditions.
Precisely. It tries to answer the question, if an attacker got past our perimeter, what damage could they actually do? It's the ultimate stress test for your security posture. A key safeguard is to perform periodic external penetration tests by qualified testers.
Can you give an example of where pen testing was used proactively?
Sure. Think about First Payment Network, Inc. They're a credit card processing company, and they were developing some innovative new biorecognition payment technology, maybe using fingerprints or facial scans at the point of sale.
Cutting edge stuff. Also potentially risky.
Exactly. Before launching this new tech, they really wanted to know, how easy would it be for a criminal to, say, forge a fingerprint on their scanners? Or could someone bypass the back-end processing network's security code?
Good questions to ask before it goes live.
Definitely. So they hired a managed service provider, an MSP, that specialized in red team exercises. These are basically authorized, simulated attack campaigns. The red team's job was to try and break the system, specifically targeting those potential biorecognition and code vulnerabilities.
So they were stress testing it against realistic threats.
Precisely. The insights gained from that penetration test allowed First Payment Network to identify and fix critical security holes before the product ever reached customers, potentially preventing major fraud or breaches down the line. That's the power of proactive testing like Control 18 recommends.
That's a great example of using offense to inform defense, which is a core principle of CIS controls.
Absolutely. Okay, that gives us a really good practical sense of the CIS controls. We've covered NIST, laws, standards, CIS. Let's broaden our view one last time to the enterprise level with the COBIT 2019 framework.
COBIT.
Great.
Right. This one takes a higher level view. COBIT stands for Control Objectives for Information and Related Technologies. It's a comprehensive framework focused specifically on the governance and management of enterprise information and technology, INT.
Governance and management, are those different?
COBIT makes a very clear and fundamental distinction between the two, and this is crucial. Governance is primarily the responsibility of the board of directors. It involves evaluating stakeholder needs, setting direction by prioritizing and making decisions, and monitoring performance and compliance against that direction. Think strategy and oversight.
Okay, the board's role. What's management?
Management is the responsibility of executive leadership. It involves the day-to-day activities, planning, building, running, and monitoring activities in alignment with the direction set by the governance body to achieve the enterprise objectives. Think execution and administration.
So governance sets the course. Management steers the ship day to day.
That's a great analogy. COBIT emphasizes that clear distinction is vital for effective INT alignment with business goals.
What are the core principles behind COBIT 2019?
It's built on 6 key principles for an effective governance system. Things like provide stakeholder value balancing benefits, risk, and resources. Taking a holistic approach considering various interconnected components. Being a dynamic governance system adapting to changes. Clearly distinguishing governance from management, as we just discussed. Being tailored to enterprise needs customization is key. And establishing an end-to-end governance system looking at INT across the entire organization, not just the IT department.
Okay, and how does it structure this? What's the core model?
The heart of COBIT is its core model, which defines specific governance and management objectives needed to achieve enterprise goals. These objectives are organized into domains.
Domains.
Yes, there's one governance domain called Evaluate, Direct, and Monitor, EDM. This reflects the board's responsibilities we talked about.
EDM for governance.
Right. Then there are 4 management domains: Align, Plan and Organize, APO, focusing on overall INT strategy and organization. Build, acquire, and implement, BAI, dealing with defining, acquiring, and implementing IT solutions. Deliver, service, and support, DSS, covering the operational delivery and support of IT services. And monitor, evaluate, and assess, MEA, focusing on monitoring performance and conformance.
APO, BAI, DSS, MEA for management.
It sounds very structured.
It is. It provides a logical way to ensure that all aspects of enterprise INT are considered and aligned with business needs.
Can we see how this might be applied? Is there a case study?
Yes, let's look at the Alliance Core. They were a high-end furniture retailer and manufacturer.
Okay.
They felt their IT processes weren't well aligned with their overall business strategy and objectives. They wanted to improve that alignment. So they decided to use COBIT 2019 as a framework and benchmark.
How did they use it? Their executive team conducted an assessment, comparing their current IT practices against the COBIT governance and management objectives. They found significant gaps, particularly in the EDM governance domain.
What kind of gaps?
Things like an inconsistent approach to IT governance across different departments, a lack of clear compliance oversight for IT, inefficient delivery of IT services, and consequently, unacceptably high levels of IT-related risk.
So COBIT helped them pinpoint the problems at a strategic level.
Exactly. And based on that assessment, they initiated a major overhaul of their entire IT function. They worked to eliminate duplicated efforts, improve their IT budgeting processes, and actually repurpose IT staff roles to better support the core strategic objectives of the business.
So COBIT provided the structure to drive real organizational change in IT.
That's a perfect summary. It helped them move from reactive IT to strategically aligned INT.
Does COBIT talk about what makes up a governance system beyond just objectives?
It does. It identifies 7 key components that need to work together for a governance system to be effective. These include processes, organizational structures, the principles, policies, and frameworks themselves, information flows, culture, ethics, and behavior.
People are in there.
Yes, people, skills, and competencies is a component. And finally, services, infrastructure, and applications. COBIT stresses that you need to consider all these components holistically.
It sounds comprehensive. Can it be customized? You mentioned tailoring earlier.
Absolutely. COBIT 2019 explicitly includes mechanisms for customization. There are design factors, 11 of them in total.
Design factors, like what?
Things like the overall enterprise strategy, the enterprise goals, the organization's risk profile, specific INT-related issues they're facing, the threat landscape, compliance requirements, the role of IT, the sourcing model for IT, implementation methods, technology adoption strategy, and even the enterprise size.
So you consider all those factors.
To help you prioritize which governance and management objectives are most important for your specific organization and how you should tailor the implementation.
And you also mentioned focus areas.
Right. Focus areas are specific governance topics that might be particularly relevant, like cybersecurity, risk, cloud computing, DevOps, data privacy. COBIT provides guidance on how its core model components can be applied to address these specific areas effectively. It makes the framework very adaptable.
Okay, that's a great overview of COBIT's high-level governance perspective. So we've really covered a lot of ground today.
We certainly have. From NIST foundations to specific laws and standards, practical CIS controls, and now enterprise governance with COBIT.
Let's try and bring it all together. We journeyed through those NIST frameworks, the voluntary CSF and privacy frameworks, and the mandatory SP 800-53, all providing that foundational guidance for managing digital risk.
Building blocks.
Then we explored the critical landscape of privacy laws like HIPAA in the US and the global reach of GDPR, plus essential industry standards like PCI DSS for payments, all vital for protecting sensitive data and building trust.
The rules of the road, essentially.
Right. Then we got really practical with the CIS controls, those actionable safeguards based on real-world attacks, tiered for different organizational needs.
The how-to guide for defense.
And finally, we looked at COBIT 2019, that overarching framework for IT governance and management, helping organizations align their tech strategy with their business objectives.
Connecting IT to the bigger picture.
It feels like each of these frameworks, laws, standards provides a different yet really complementary lens for viewing and securing our digital world, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They aren't mutually exclusive. They often overlap and reinforce each other. Understanding how they fit together is key.
And being well informed about them, it feels like it's not just about ticking compliance boxes anymore. It's really about building genuine resilience, fostering trust, especially as everything becomes more digital.
I couldn't agree more. It's about proactive design, not just reactive cleanup.
Which actually leads nicely into a final thought.
Ah, yes. Something for our listeners to ponder.
Exactly. Given this ever-evolving digital landscape, new threats popping up constantly, data always in motion, what responsibility do we really have?
As individuals, as organizations.
Both. A responsibility not just to react when a security incident happens, but maybe to proactively design our digital environments, our systems, our processes, our culture with resilience and privacy embedded right at their core from the very beginning.
That's a powerful question. Moving from bolting on security and privacy after the fact
Yeah.
to baking it in from the start.
Right. And how can these very frameworks we've discussed today, NIST, CIS, COBIT, understanding GDPR's principles, how can they actually guide us in that continuous and, I think, essential endeavor?
Designing for trust and resilience. Definitely something worth thinking about long after this conversation ends.
Indeed. That's our thought to leave you with today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cybersecurity and privacy frameworks.
It was a pleasure.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep applying this knowledge to help secure your digital future. We'll talk to you next time.